Greetings, traveller. Come in and take a seat by the fire. Today we will be continuing our tale together. A tale of hard lessons and harder truths. A tale of desperation and despair. The Hunter's Requiem, Part 2. Gotcha! Nasty little blighter. Sergeant Bradley Conan glances down at the small crimson stain on his palm for a moment, triumphant, and then wipes it away on his grubby tabard and turns to the soldier marching, or rather slogging, beside him. There is sweat on her brow, telling of the weariness Bradley feels in his own legs. So, remind me, what the hell are we doing here? She responds with a slight grimace, pulling her foot free of the mire with a wet sucking noise, and taking another step. Seriously, Brad? Save your breath for the walk. I hear you, Sarja, but really, why are we not back at the barracks playing cards over a pint? Why the long march? Captain Sarja Bannock is a career soldier, stern-faced and flinty-eyed, but Bradley still sees the look of concern that flashes across her features as she glances towards the back of the hulking man marching ahead of them before she responds. We've been over this already, Sergeant. The words are hissed, but the intent is clear. Ranks and formality while on patrol. The warden wants any tribes that stray too close to the swamp edge clearing out. We're here to make that happen. Right. And when was the last time orcs crossed into the plains? Sarja cocks an eyebrow at him. Ma'am, he adds, with the slightest hint of an eye roll. Well, that's precisely the point, Sergeant, she adds a little edge to her voice. We're here so they never do. Bradley seems to think about this for a moment. He opens his mouth to respond, a half smirk promising a sardonic air to his words, but he clamps his jaw shut again as the armoured figure in front of them stops mid-stride, plated hand rising into the air in a fist, calling a halt to the column. Bradley and Sarja follow suit, the latter turning to ensure the rest of the column is also coming to a halt. The sergeant shoots his captain a quizzical look, but she doesn't see it. Her hard eyes are fixed on the man in front. More specifically, the man in charge. Sir Frankric Belfeld, Knight of the Order of the Silver Tower, bearer of the Warden's Torch, Knight-errant of the Northern Reach. He is noble in blood, equipped with the very best armour and education a nobleman's son can be afforded, and, like most lifelong knights, he is an absolute monster of a man. Wearing plate armour since his teens has left him with a chest like a barrel and a neck as thick as his head. Without a word, the knight raises his visor and then scans the surrounding swamp. Slowly, deliberately. He is carrying nothing but a large two-handed sword and the armour on his back. His rations and bedding have been distributed between the packs of the rest of the squad. Still, Bradley notes with a hint of surprise that he doesn't seem the least bit affected by hauling his massive, plate-clad frame through the knee-deep mud. He's not even breathing hard. My lord? Sarja's whisper carries unnaturally in the still air. The knight does not respond, his gaze sweeping the tangled trees around them in the cloying silence. You watch, with bated breath, the crook of your elbow hooked over a gnarled branch, your bare feet planted against the bark. The buzzing insects have congregated around the humans gathered below, likely drawn to the heat. Little wonder, given their excessive layers and the bullish way they're ploughing through the boggy earth. They were chattering to each other in their strange, soft-edged voices, but now they've grown silent, right beneath you. One at the front begins hissing at the others, some kind of command, it seems, because you watch as those further back begin to fan out, hefting spears with metal tips as they form a rough circle. They are smaller than you'd imagined. You look to where Racatrell is perched in a nearby tree, legs pulled up under their chin as they look down at these strange invaders. Neither of you hold any illusion. Should they find you, death will surely follow. Yet they seem so mundane. Small, sweaty creatures stumbling in the mud. A far cry from the generational horrors who brought about your race's near extinction. The one at the front is closer to the creatures you had expected, clad in metal plates that move around its limbs like a second skin. It exudes an aura of authority, but mixed with a deep sense of menace that reminds you of the eerie horror of a Thrall whose mind has begun to turn. A heady combination of stillness, power, and the potential for sudden and inestimable violence. And then, as if sensing your attention, the metal-armored thing looks up. Ambush! Saja's voice cuts the dark like a knife, and the soldiers around her burst into movement. Spear tips bristle upwards, and the orcs in the treetops lurch away in reaction, leaping backwards into the looming dark of the swamp. Sir Frankrick is already in motion, his blade gripped in one hand as he sets off in pursuit, bogwater foaming in his wake. Shite! Bradley reads the order in Saja's expression before she speaks it out loud. The noble Belfeld cannot be lost in the swamp, or it's not worth any of them returning to Elderkeep. So the sergeant sets off after the knight, pulling his crossbow string back and loading a bolt as he does so. You are running once more, surroundings blurring together in the dark. The familiar, frantic feeling, pursuit, but now you are no longer the hunter, now you are the prey. You vault a clump of vine-ridden bracken and dart left, aiming to break line of sight as you begin to weave through the trees. Something is crashing through the foliage behind you, swatting obstacles aside rather than moving around them. You can hear it grunting and panting through the metal grate of its helmet. No, you are not prey. Prey are killed for food and hide. Prey are killed with purpose. You are being hunted for no such reason. You duck and swerve again, rolling in the waterlogged filth to slip under a tangle of roots jutting from a fallen tree. Coming up to your feet, you glance around to regain your bearings and realize with a start that you are back by your camp. The mire swine cadaver still rests on its makeshift sled, though the warm ashes of your campfire cast no light, having burned down as you watched the humans approach. Your mind races to identify your available options. Without the swine, your village risks starvation, but with it, you will never get away. There is no more time. A massive blade hews through the roots behind you, followed by a cloud of steam that washes out from the slits of an emotionless visor. You stumble back, nearly tripping on the mire swine as you struggle to keep your feet beneath you. The armoured human is shouting something from beneath the helmet, its voice metallic and harsh as it steps over the shattered stump of the fallen tree and hefts its weapon.
Face me, beast.
Bradley hears Frankrick's voice before he reaches him.
Your kind shall not set foot in the realms of men. This is my oath.
The sergeant is out of breath already, dragging each step as he works his way through the trail of battered plant life left in the night's wake. How the noble sir had made such headway was beyond him, but the shouts are growing louder.
Your ambush has failed. I will not let you flee back into the darkness from whence you...
A loud crash echoes out ahead, cutting Frankric's roaring vitriol short. A moment later, the brutish voice of an orc, barking a single violent syllable. Bradley forces himself to speed up. The huge blade is raised now, the human still bellowing, and you feel ice in your veins as your limbs lock up in horror. You watch, unbelieving, as your death approaches out of the tales of your youth. This is it, you realize. You're going to die. The roaring tirade is cut short with a crash as Rakartrell emerges from the shadows behind the armoured human, arms wrapping around its neck as your hunting mate bears it to the ground. You look on, survival instinct straining against shock, as orc and man tumble in a clumsy heap on the wet ground.
Run!
Trell has the element of surprise and is larger and more muscled than their opponent, but hunting mire swine is a far cry from fighting for life and limb. Even as you begin to force yourself back into motion, the human's plated fist strikes Rakartrell in the throat with a sickening crunch. Your kin stumbles back, losing their grip on the human and pawing at their own crushed throat with a pained gurgle. But the human wastes no time. With a single sweeping motion, Trell's head is separated from their body, sent flying into the darkened trees in a gout of near-black blood. The torso remains upright for a moment, arms falling limp to its side, before the lifeless legs give out, and Trell's trunk strikes the earth with a muted thud. Your mind goes blank. An unfamiliar, bubbling sensation rises in your subconscious, washing over your mental barricades like a flood of boiling tar, staining everything it touches. Simultaneously hot and cold, it fills the empty space of your thoughts. Blood thunders in your ears. Something in you bends. Something ancient and fundamental flexes under a pressure it has never felt, like a green sapling under a boulder. And then it snaps. You've never experienced rage before. Not really. You've been angry, of course. You've disagreed with your elders and your peers. You've felt betrayal, pain, worry, heartache, but never true rage. Not until today. You snatch up your fallen spear and hurl it, full force in a single fluid movement. It glances harmlessly off the visor, but serves as a distraction, causing the human to flinch back. You're already moving, low to the ground and full of intent. The knight barely has time to bring his sword round in a cover, forcing you to dart back out of reach. They don't realize what has happened until you wrench the blood-slicked rope upwards with all of your might, snapping it taut against the back of their greaves. They slip, feet flinging up gobbets of mud as they tumble backwards, and you are on them in moments. With a flick of your wrist, the slack of the rope wraps around the human's neck, tightening sharply as you leverage your weight against it. Armoured hands are battering against your arms and back in a frantic attempt to fight you off. You are reminded of the scraping of mireswine hide. Yes, there's the truth. This is not your peer. This is not your predator. This is just another animal. You snatch the bone knife from your belt and drive it home. As you work the blade deeper, seeking vitals, you speak a new requiem. No words of gratitude to pray, These are words of hatred. Bradley reaches the fallen trunk, skirting its tangled roots just in time to see Sir Francric struggling fade to stillness. An orc, massive and snarling, withdraws a sharpened bone knife from the knight's neck, slowly, deliberately, and looks up towards him, blood splattered across its tusked face, eyes filled with hatred and rage. No words are spoken. None are needed. Bradley turns, casting his crossbow aside, and runs, like prey from a hunter. Thank you for listening to this, the second part of The Hunter's Requiem. I've done some experimenting with style here, as you may have noticed, so please do leave a comment below letting me know how it worked. Tell me what you thought, how you felt, and what you want to see next. I am very grateful for your continued engagement with our tales, and I look forward to seeing you next week, when the repercussions of this story's events will begin to unfold in earnest. Until we meet again, traveller, farewell and safe travels.